So hi guys and welcome to the Singh's Perspective. So in this video I interview Arjun Kartha, one of India's finest and most sought after wedding photographer. So in this video we'll be talking about his journey as a wedding photographer and what he feels is the future of wedding photography in India. Hello Arjun sir, nice to have you on our channel.
Good to be here.
Sir, first of all tell us how did you start wedding photography?
So wedding photography for me was completely accidental. I started my career as an engineer. I studied to be an engineer.
Same here.
And the one thing that I took away from engineering was I really didn't want to be an engineer. I couldn't see myself sitting behind the camera. So as it so happened, I was lucky. I got a job in advertising. This was in Bangalore in 2004. Okay, so I got a job in advertising. And while in advertising, I had the opportunity to work with many successful commercial photographers. And that essentially is what started my interest in photography. Now, I started shooting real estate, I started shooting advertising, I started shooting concepts, tabletop, product, all sorts of things as a freelance photographer until 2008 when it just so happened that Prerna and I attended a wedding and our friend said, hey, you know what, why don't you bring your camera with you? Yeah. Which we did, and we started taking pictures, and apparently those pictures turned out to be much better than what the official photographer was supposed to do. I mean, I don't believe that. That's what they said. I don't believe that.
Yes.
But that's essentially what started our interest in wedding photography. And back then, there was hardly anybody doing it. There were a couple of people. And we started shooting from our bedroom. I mean, that's where our first office was.
Yeah.
And one thing led to another. And today, I think the journey has been good.
Yes.
And wedding photography has been very interesting.
So even if we consider wedding photography, the wedding photography maybe we need to cover different genres like product photography, fashion photography. So आपका experience इस चीज़ में बहुत कम आया होगा जो starting में अपने सारे different genres किए. So how did you build this brand Twogether Studios?
So it's been there was no one thing that we did. It obviously took a long time. One thing I think we are very grateful for is that we were in the right time, in the right place. Or rather, let me rephrase that, we were in the right place at the right time in 2008 because that was when essentially what I love to call the renaissance in Indian wedding photography happened. So that is when styles started changing, traditional became candid, templatized photography became storytelling, and so on, so on, so on. Yeah. So essentially, when we first started, I think this was very, very new. So that is what helped us build this brand that we are today. And beyond that, honestly, I think it's just simple things. Having a good product, having good photography, making sure that our clients are happy, making sure that we're putting our work out there, and generally being open about photography. I mean, that is one thing that I've always felt. It is very important to be open about photography and share whatever it is that one has learned over time. And that, I think, is what helps build a brand.
So sir, you mentioned having a good product, but marketing is also a very important part of that. I've seen your social media presence is really good. So how did you manage to do that?
Again, I really think we were very lucky. There are a couple of things that we did. Also, the number one is I think we started early. So that helped us grow during the boom time of, let's say, Facebook and Instagram and social media channels like that. Second is that we keep posting work. So we are very consistent about posting our work. So we make sure that we post something at least once every day, or if not once every alternate day. Apart from that, we've also been very, very strong with our blog. So blogging is something that we are very particular about. So we make sure that we share a lot. We talk about stories, we talk about tutorials, we talk about techniques, we talk about trends, we talk about all sorts of things that are important in this world of wedding photography. So I think the fact that we kept sharing and we continuously kept sharing is what kept people engaged. So obviously the audience is a mixture of both wedding photographers, other photographers, plus prospective clients. So I think there's a little bit in it for everyone, and that is what has helped build a strong social media presence.
So definitely we can see that not only they had a good product, but apart from that they were creating content to educate others, doing something for the community. We know about your organization called WPI. If you could elaborate on that.
As a country, we have a pool of exceptionally talented wedding photographers. In fact, the number of wedding photographers in India is more than the total of all the wedding photographers in the US and all the wedding photographers in Europe and all the wedding photographers in England. If you total all of them, we are still more. So if you consider that this is a huge country with huge potential and a very, very growing market, it is very important for wedding photographers today to come together, to collaborate, to learn, and to drive essentially excellence. So today in India, there is no one body, there is no one regulatory body, or I wouldn't even use the word regulatory, but there is no association of people that represents wedding photographers in India. So that is essentially what we're trying to do. There are a couple of objectives. Number one is to bring people together, because today Delhi photographers are different, Bombay photographers are different, Kerala photographers are different, and there is no synergy between these gangs. But there is so much that people can do together. That's number one. Number two is there is nobody who is saying what is good wedding photography. That this is good, this is bad, this could be improved. So we are setting the standard, we are setting the benchmark for wedding photography. And number three is, as a body, we can now start telling clients that look, there is a world beyond lehenga shots or very typical templatized shots that most people want, because mostly the customer doesn't know. They don't really know what is good wedding photography. So those are a couple of things that we are trying to do.
So sir, like as you mentioned that India is on a boom in terms of wedding photography. So as the demand is high, so do you consider it as a service or as an art? Because as the demand keeps on increasing, sometimes we neglect the art part of it.
To be truly successful in this industry, you have to realize that art is the service. Okay, so truly successful wedding photographers create amazing images that truly represent art. Okay, now it's because they are artistic, they are creative, they think beyond the box, which is why they're able to create those amazingly pretty pictures.
Definitely.
But while doing that, you also have to remember that this being a wedding, the bride and the groom and the family have a certain expectation when it comes to pictures. So apart from those artistic pictures, they also want pictures of their grandparents, they want pictures of their parents, they want pictures of their siblings. So being able to deliver on all fronts, being able to deliver a great product which is essentially artistic and nice looking, while also being able to make sure that your bases are covered, is what makes people successful. So honestly, it's a little bit of both.
Generally, the kind of media we consume shapes up our mindset in terms of the content we create or the photographs we take. Generally ऐसे होता है कि online अगर हम एक particular type की photos देख रहे हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं जब हम photos लेने जाते हैं, so that affects our mind. So how do you keep yourself fresh in terms of inspiration and coming up with new and innovative shots?
That's a difficult process, to be honest. After you shoot 200, 300, 400 weddings, it is very, very possible that you start getting jaded. आपको ऐसा लगेगा कि सब कुछ सेम हो गया है. But it's important to remember that it's not true. Okay, while the overall setup might be the same, there might be a wedding, there are fairas, there will be a couple, there will be parents, there will be pandit ji, वो सब चीजें same है.
Only the faces change.
The faces change, but therein lies the difference, because the story is different, the people are different, the family is different. So once you start realizing that every couple story is unique and it is your job as a photographer to represent that story in the best way possible, then you'll never feel that weddings are the same. So for me, after doing this for almost 9-10 years, I still, believe it or not, every time when I go to a wedding, I'm actually nervous. I'm nervously excited. I feel ki pet mein there's something happening, because I never know what challenges are going to come forward. I don't know what kind of story I'm going to make. I haven't decided yet what are the pictures I'm going to take. So even today, after doing this for so long, I still feel excited and a little bit nervous at a wedding. So it happens. As long as you remember that everybody is different and you cannot afford to take the same pictures everywhere, it becomes okay.
Yeah, definitely. If a person is taking the same shot and the same shot is taken by somebody else, so उसका कुछ ना कुछ touch उसमें जरूर आ ही जाता है. So there's definitely a difference.
That's right.
But sir, if we consider the case of wedding movies. उसमें जनरली व्हाट आई कैन से इज कि एक टेम्पलेटाइज हो रहा है इन टर्म्स ऑफ लाइक विदाई में द सेम सॉन्ग दिन शगना था या फिर बन्नो दे बन्नो तेरी चली ससुराल. सो लाइक हाउ डू वी मेक एंड इनोवेट wedding stories?
So, like in wedding photography, wedding cinematography also has changed dramatically in the last few years. In fact, it is a newer industry as compared to photography. So, because of which, a lot of photographers today who are creating wedding cinema have not gone through the usual path, the learning path that traditional filmmakers go through. So let's assume that a traditional filmmaker would do a mass comm degree, they would go and apprentice with an established director, they would set up their own production house, they would start creating stories and so on, so on, so on. Most wedding photographers have built in wedding cinema suddenly because it is something that the market wanted and therefore do not really have the experience that people who work in the film industry do. So, of course, there are people in the photography industry who come from the film background, but those are few and far between. So, I think it will take time for the industry to stabilize and for people to really define what their storytelling mechanic is. So, while there are, obviously, there is a finite universe of songs to choose from. So, and the story is, you need to tell the story in a certain way. But I don't agree that everything is the same because there are amazing filmmakers out there who are creating amazing bodies of work. And as the WPI, we want to recognize these people because at the moment these people are not recognized. Their work is lost in the market, which is why we are soon going to be launching the WPI Cinematography Awards, where we will actually recognize excellence in filmmaking, we will recognize excellence in storytelling, and therefore not only will we decide or not only will we recognize a good film, but we will also recognize the people who contribute to it. So we will be doing director awards, we will be doing editor awards, we'll be doing cinematography, DOP awards, and so on and so forth. So I think slowly with these efforts, the industry should grow.
So sir, whenever there's a wedding, most of the time ऐसा नहीं होगा कि like from the other side as well, same ही photography company hire की गई हो. So in that terms, how do you deal with like maybe ego or like self-respect kind of thing?
This has happened to us. I wouldn't say it's happened very often because usually we included as part of our contract that we are the sole photography company at a wedding. So we usually counsel the client and tell them that we will shoot from both sides. There is no need to waste money and hire two teams. But every now and then it does happen where the client requests us and says, you know what, the other side has already booked someone and we still want you. So would you be able to cooperate? So in times like that, it is our duty to not throw a tantrum. So we say, okay, no problem, and we try and find out who the other company is. If it is a known company, because we know a lot of people in the industry, if it's a known company, then it's
then
no
you
problem.
club it.
It's fun, because it's great fun shooting with someone else. Let's all do this together. But if it's someone unknown or if it's a smaller company, what I usually do is I will go and shake hands with everyone. I'll introduce myself and tell them who I am, and they'll realize that here's someone who's being friendly and he really doesn't care about anything else. So I've always realized that a smile works wonders. Okay, if you just smile at someone and say hi, chalo saath mein kaam kare,
then things
automatically work out, and we have never faced a problem.
In terms of wedding photography, we require a great team. So how do you build your team? Like आप talent को कैसे hire करते हैं? Because in wedding photography, it's like 15 से 20 बंदों की पूरी team चाहिए. So how do you hire that talent?
So it takes some amount of practice, but honestly I am very proud of my team. We have a great team here at Twogether Studios. It's not been easy, okay, but my simple management mantra for team building is hire first for attitude, train for skills. Okay, I mean, I know this is a very cliched management mantra, everyone says it, but it's very true. Okay, now when I get CVs, now we on average get at least 15 CVs every week for positions at our company. And sometimes it becomes hard to keep track with everyone because in a small company, HR function is me, admin function is me, accounting function is me. So it becomes hard to keep track. But every now and then there is an interesting CV that gets highlighted to me, and I look at it. I do not even look at the skills. Okay, I'm assuming that if a guy has gone to photography school, he's got a diploma in photography, he knows what to do. What I look at, however, is what he's done before, what he or she has done before, what they have, where they have worked, how they are open to learning. Because to me, a person has to be open to learning all the time. If a guy comes to me and says, you know what, I know everything, I'm like, okay, thank you, leave.
Yeah,
but if a person comes and says, I've got this degree in photography, but I want to learn, I want to, understand what's going on, then that is an open slate that I can work with. Okay, so even me, like today, I'm the first person to admit that I don't know everything. There is a lot more where I need to grow as an artist, and I want to take my team with me. So that's the point. So I can't do it alone.
Yeah,
so
definitely.
What I always tell my team is, together we are stronger. Together we are stronger, and alone we are weaker. So as a team, if we work together, there's no end to what we can achieve.
So sir, team building is one part, like hiring the talent is one part. But how do you like contain that talent?
Containing talent is always a challenge in any industry. It's not just photography. I think any industry that you go to, keeping people is always an issue. But the best way to do it is to give people a growth path. Now, why do people leave? People leave because they either get a better salary opportunity. That is the most common reason to leave. But apart from that, they leave because either they're unhappy, they don't know where they're going, they don't know where they will be in 2 years' time. They are unsatisfied with the kind of work they're doing. So as long as you keep looking at these factors, give a person an opportunity to know that as an artist, they are not alone. Okay, so they have a mentor, they have a guide, and you tell them that this is where you're growing, this is what you need to work on, and this is the new things that you can do, and these are interesting things that you can do. So if you keep the creativity satisfied, because ultimately this is not a regular 9-to-5 job. I mean,
Definitely.
an artist. This is a creative house. So unlike an IT company or where you are contracted to work 10 hours a day, here the expectation is different. I mean, it's about having fun. It's about being creatively inspired.
Yeah, definitely. It's about like doing the creative work, not the busy work, checking the mail and all.
Exactly. So as long as people feel motivated and in sync with the overall goal of the organization, then they will stay. If you neglect them, or if you let them do what it is they want to do and don't give them guidance and don't make them feel a part of the family, then they're going to leave. So that's, I mean, obviously salaries is something that always there will be another company giving you more money. I mean, money, but at the end of the day is not everything. It is about being creatively fulfilled, and the rest is satisfaction.
So what we can see Twogether Studios is a couple that documents the love and wedding stories of other couples. So how does it like impact your work when you have a female counterpart who can like engage with the bride?
So, surprisingly, Prerna engages with the groom. Okay, I engage with the bride usually. Surprisingly.
I'm stereotyping.
Exactly, right. So I think working with your partner is good because first of all, it sets a good example for our clients, right? For our couples, because they see that here's a couple and they've been working together for 9 years now.
Yeah,
and,
so we can learn from that.
Works, right? So I think that positive energy rubs off on couples, and they see us interacting as a couple. They see our dynamism. They see the way we, seamlessly are moving forward, and there's a lot of energy coming in. So that I think really, really helps. It puts people at their ease. They identify with that, and they know that okay, so these Arjun and Prerna are together. We are together. This is all going to work out.
Yeah, definitely, sir. So, sir, like most of the times when like we are executing something, हमारे दिमाग में एक print होता है कि photos इस हिसाब से आने चाहिए. So, like for example, what would you prefer? If you are shooting a couple, would you take the shot that you want, even if it like makes a couple uncomfortable, or move around their comfort level and shoot accordingly?
So that's a good question. See, now whatever I do is, if a couple is uncomfortable, I'm not going to get what I want. Okay,
Definitely.
It's very clear. So my job actually, first and foremost, is to build that comfort factor. Now that takes time. Okay, now every time I meet a new couple and we start shooting, for anybody, unless you're a professional model or an actor, it takes you 15, 20, 30 minutes to warm up for the camera. So that is always my primary focus. Now, if there's something in my mind that I know I want to execute, I will wait for the proper opportunity. Okay, now I am not going to force my will on the couple and say that this is what I want you to do, even if they are, like for example, let's say that I want them to jump into the pool. Okay, but the bride is wearing a nice dress and she doesn't want to jump into the pool. So I'm not going to say that you have to jump into the pool because I say so. What I'm going to do is I'm going to work with them and show them that these images are coming out great. And then I'm saying, okay guys, you know what, the shoot's over, okay, but I have this amazing idea. I want you to jump in the pool. I think it's going to look awesome. So by this time they trust me, right? And by this time they know that if Arjun says so, it's probably going to be awesome. And that's the time I'm going to swoop in and say, all right, jump into the pool, the shoot's over after that. And they'll do it. And I'm fairly confident that if your people skills are good, they will do it.
So primarily building the trust is the most important thing, and then you can execute on the other factors.
Always.
What is the biggest lesson that you have learned as a wedding photographer? And what message do you have for wedding photographers who are like youngster wedding photographers?
I think the biggest lesson is to listen to your clients. Now, ultimately, we have to realize that a wedding is a very emotional time, and people during that time are not how they usually are in their daily lives and routine. So I think the important thing is to build empathy, is to be there for your couple, because at the end of the day, the photographer is the one person who is closest to the bride and groom as compared to anybody else. I mean, not the parents, not the siblings, not the planner, not the decorator, but the photographer is always there. So you witness a lot of things, you hear a lot of things, you understand a lot of things. So it is important to be there for your client, as not just as a client, but as a friend, as a partner. So that's very important.
Because definitely they are also very nervous at that time.
Yes, they are. So being a calming factor, I think, is important. And number two, for people starting out in this industry, it's important to realize that a lot of people do it for the wrong reasons. They think that the wedding industry is booming, so therefore this is a good thing to do. So while that is always the case, but you'll never reach a certain level of success unless you wholly invest your emotions and your thinking into this. And you have to do it for the right reasons. I mean, do it for creating stories. For example, the one thing that I tell most people, most editors and cinematographers who join here, is that if you were to work in a TV channel, your work will be viewed by millions of people. Okay? When you work in a wedding photography company, your work will be seen by two people. Okay? And those two people are the people who matter. So that's the difference, So when you deliver something that for a client, for a couple, and they see it and they they're emotional and they're crying and they love it, that kind of satisfaction is not available when you know that your work has been seen by millions, but you don't see who those people are.
Definitely, sir. So guys, now it's time for the rapid fire round. So sir, इसमें मैं आपसे random question पूछूंगा. So your dream destination wedding shoot location?
Hawaii.
DSLR or mirrorless?
I would have said DSLR last year, but this year I'm going to say mirrorless.
Okay. Tea lover, coffee fan?
Tea or coffee? Coffee any day. My company is called Thoda Strong. We are believers in coffee.
If you were not a photographer, what would you be?
I would in most...
engineer?
Engineer. I would probably be an engineer. Yes.
A photographer that you admire the most?
The list is very long. There is no one person.
So we can have many.
I mean, I would say at least 15-20 names, but I'm very bad with names. I'm not going to recall. I'm not going to list them out now, but it's a long list.
In the end, sir, how can somebody find you online?
So visit, I'm going to look into that camera. So visit Twogether Studios. So that's at the rate of twogetherstudios.in on Instagram or twogetherstudios.in on Facebook. Or if you'd like to come and see our blog, come to arjunkarthaphotography.com. That's ARJUNKARTHA photography.com, and our blog is on there. So, or hit me up on Instagram or Facebook. We love receiving messages. So please, we are happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. So in the end, sir, thanks a lot for giving us this privilege that we are able to interview you. So sir, thanks a lot.
Happy to do it. Cheers. Thank you. Bye guys.